My name is Sarita. The crime I was sentenced for was first-degree murder. I was 33 when I was arrested. I am 51 years old. What led me into my incarceration was my drug addiction. I used to be a crack smoker. I started using drugs when I was 16 years old, and that kind of formed my life and my decision making when I was out there. I never thought that I would get involved in a homicide. The only thing I wanted to do was get high that day. I never thought me wanting to get high would turn into someone losing their life. I feel like when a person's family member is taken away violently, I feel like that will forever impact that family. You know, there'll always be stories of such and such and what happened to such and such. You know, that person won't be there when they have family gatherings or over the holidays, and it'll always be that memory of, well, this happened to such and such. And that could be passed down the line. I mean, there's a big impact for generations when a life is taken. There's no easy way to really explain that. It's just a hurtful situation all the way around the board. Haven't we all done something in life that we felt so ashamed of and so remorseful for that we just want to be forgiven for and try to prove ourselves? It doesn't have to be on such a grand scale as why I'm sitting here. You know, I think if proven and shown that someone deserves a second chance from a life sentence, I don't see why a person shouldn't be given that chance. What was my life like? How far back you want to go? Well, my mother passed away when she was 19. My father raised me, and my father was mentally ill. And back then, you know, mental health awareness isn't like it is today. It's really a big thing today. Back then, people just didn't deal with it. It was like a family kept secret. I come from a very abusive background. My father was a very abusive and cruel person. So I just learned how to fend for myself really early and to be strong, you know. And I didn't have a good childhood, but I have a good future waiting for me, I can say that, yeah. You know, anytime you take a child and you put them in a negative environment from birth, and that's all they know is violence, negativity, drugs, sexual abuse, emotional abuse, you know, what type of adult can a person be molded into under that type of environment? I mean, it doesn't make up an excuse for people to go out and harm other people, but that's just my story. You know, my father was a very violent man, so violence was always around me. And growing up, it's sort of how I learned how to protect myself. You know, being violent, I always thought that I had something to prove. And it wasn't until I came to jail that I really found myself. And I started working on myself. And I realized that I didn't have to live like that anymore, you know? That I do have a purpose regardless. But it's so crazy because it took someone to pass away for me to realize how valuable life is. And for that, I could never take advantage of that because someone had to lose their life, so to speak, in order for me to get it. And I know that that might sound crazy, but it's the reality of my situation. It took something so horrendous like that for me to realize, you know, what I had within myself, so to speak, to change my life around. When I see all the pain that I was causing, because when I was out there on the street, for me to inflict pain really didn't mean anything to me, to take advantage of people and to be very ungrateful, because I felt like the world owed me something because of everything that I went through. Nobody was there for me, and this happened to me, so being as though this is the way that I grew up, this is the kind of, you know, lifestyle that I was going to live. And when all of this happened to me, it just made me see things. It was like a, you know, it just struck me really hard that I was just that far gone. Yeah, it was definitely a reality hitter when they told me life without parole. I couldn't believe it. I actually, in my mind, thought that I was going to walk away from that. Like, how twisted is that? No, not this time, Sarita. You know. When I talk to a lot of the young women here, I see me. I see hurt. I see pain. I see abuse. A lot of these young women, they come from where I come from. They come from rape. They come from abandonment. And they turn to men, they turn to drugs, and they turn to the street. They look for a sense of trying to find something to belong to. And when you come from that kind of environment, 90% of the time you go to the negative things. There's always that negative element that waits for people like that, you know? So I share my story with them. And then when I tell them that I'm serving life, a lot of them look at me like I just spoke French. Like, they was, Miss Sarita, yeah, I've been down for 16 years, and let me tell you why. So I try to, like, give them that heads up so that they won't catch a life sentence. So if I can deter anybody else from walking down that same path, I share my story all the time in here, constantly, constantly. You have to believe in a power greater than yourself. There's just too much evil in the world. I've seen too much of it. So I know that there's evil and there's a devil. So you got to believe in something so much greater than yourself and then the world. And then once you get that connection with God, or however you want to describe him in your life, then you get direction. And you have to stick to that. And you have to believe in yourself. And you have to know, for the young women, you're more than just your body. You know, without this is your greatest power. And once you lose that, everything else goes down the tubes. You lose everything. You always have to keep your mind, and you have to keep your focus. Believe in God and believe in yourself. And you can't go wrong. Someone losing their life because of my selfishness, my family suffering behind my selfishness, has just caused me to just look at things totally different, to want to change my ways. You know, whether I get a second chance or not, I'll always be impacted by that. The memory of what happened and why I'm here never goes away, although it gets easier for me to handle over the years. But I always have to realize that, you know, I'm here for a reason, and I have to make the best of it as far as changing myself, because that's what I'm responsible for.